Yo, what is going on, you guys? So today I'm bringing guys a brand new sports cards video. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the 5 best investment opportunities of 2025 and a game plan that I'm personally implementing in my investment strategy that I believe will see some great returns throughout 2025. Different season throughout 2025. There's a couple different strategies, and I'm going to be going over them and letting you guys know how I plan to conquer 2025 in the sports card industry. So without further ado, let's hop right into the video. All right, guys, so the first investment on our list is going to be sealed wax. Now, why I love sealed wax so much is that unlike an individual card where people are grading more of the card every single day, and the supply continues to go up, which means the demand has to continue to go up for the price to even stay the same, for wax, with the amount of breakers opening up these boxes and the amount of singular investors opening up these boxes, you are going to see supply go down over time. The more popular a product is, the steeper decline in supply you're going to have. So when you have a decline in supply, even if the demand is hypothetically going down, you're not going to see the price go down unless the demand goes down at a steeper rate than the supply goes down. So you're playing a game that's a lot easier to win. Now, if we look at the 2024 draft class for the NFL, it is absolutely stacked. You got guys like Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Drake May, countless others, JJ McCarthy. You've got a lot of great investments. I think throughout the summer, this box right here, this Prism Hobby box from 2024, is going to be one of the most opened up products. Breakers are going to love it. Breakers are going to be opening up boxes every single day. And I think the supply shortage is going to really be seen. I think this will be one of the most popular breaks of all time. At least where we're at in the sports card hobby right now with breakers and how entertaining they've been, how much they've been growing on social platforms. I see a lot of demand on these boxes right now. Even, if you're looking at a mega box, I still think it's going to be a sought after box that people are going to be opening up and breaking. And not to mention all the individual collectors and investors who are going to be opening up these boxes. So at every single time one of these boxes gets opened up and breaks the seal, the supply count on these boxes goes down. So there's going to be less and less on the market. Right now we see a good amount of them on the market. My bold prediction is throughout the summer, the amount of supply we're seeing on the market is going to go down drastically. And I think a supply shortage could cause a lot of these boxes to go up a lot in price. This has been one of the best draft classes. I think we're going to have so many people opening up these boxes. Of course, you got Penix as well that I forgot to mention, Lad McConkey, Malik Neighbors. You've just got so many chases from so many different teams, so many different fan bases, that I think this box right here is going to be a greatly appreciating asset. I think if you're buying into an individual player, who I still think are great investments, if you look at a guy like Caleb Williams, I think throughout the summer, his cards, with the new coach, with everything going on, his cards are going to see some great appreciation. However, you still have to pick the right player. His team has to make the right moves. A lot still has to go right. If you're buying into a hobby box, it's like an index fund for the draft class. And I think this draft class is so stacked that the index fund is going to get a lot of popularity. And not to mention, with the supply going down, every time a box gets broke, I think demand is going to be going up and supply is going to be going down. And if y'all know anything about basic economics, if the supply is going to be going down because people are going to be opening up these sealed boxes, and the demand, I think, will go up, at the very least stay the same, you're going to see prices rise. So sealed wax, for 2024 Prism football, I would say is my favorite right now, but there are a lot of great opportunities. If you look at basketball, if you're picking an undervalued draft class, I think, Cade Cunningham has been going crazy this year. The Pistons have been doing really good, but you haven't seen an increase in box prices yet. I think they're lagging right now. So I think this will be a popular product over time. I think it's a good buy. to hold on to one of these boxes and you're not fully investing in Cade, you also got a couple other guys like Sengun, Jalen Green. You got a couple other guys, Mobley, in this draft class that you're still going to have some, investments in, I guess you could say. So I think it's a good draft class. I think a lot of players around this time take that next level, take that next jump in their game. You look at Cade, Giddey, Reeves, Jalen Green. If one of those guys becomes a superstar in this league, you could see this price go up, and you don't have to bet on the individual player, but you can just bet on the draft class that one of those guys will take that next step. It could be Cade, it could be Jalen Green, it could be Austin Reeves for all we know. It could be Sengun. But if one of those guys take that leap, you're going to see that price of the box go up. And you guys can see kind of like how I mentioned that you don't see many 2024 you won't see as many 2024 hobby boxes out there. We're seeing the same with 2021. There's a lot less on the market now than there used to be. And that goes the same as, for all products. When the seals get broken, you're going to start to see these go down in supply over time. And that's what we've seen throughout, the older boxes like 2021 Prism Hobby. So you don't see many sealed ones out there, especially at good prices. And you've got a draft class that's on the rise that I think can take that next leap this year. So if Cade becomes a superstar, you're going to see these boxes go up. If Reeves, if Jalen Green, if any of them take off, you can see these prices go up. So I really like betting on a draft class with the economics on your side, with supply going down. So without further ado, we're going to hop right into the next player on our list. This might be very surprising to many, but Carmelo Anthony, I think his cards are going to have a great year because he is getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. He's currently like the leading player in that Hall of Fame class. So I think, when the Hall of Fame does come around, you're going to see his cards in the spotlight for, even if it's for a couple weeks. If you hold on to his cards, wait for that time and sell off as soon as he makes the Hall of Fame, when they have the ceremony, when he's in the spotlight, you're going to make some good money. I think Carmelo Anthony has been extremely undervalued. He's one of the greatest scorers of the game. He will always have attention on him in the sports card space because he is in the same draft class as LeBron. So a lot of the more important, when you look at the most important sets in the sports card industry, 2003 Topps Chrome is one of the most important sets. So it's always going to be in the spotlight. And Carmelo is probably the third behind Wade and LeBron in that draft class. And you can find them at such cheap prices. You can get a Topps Chrome PSA 10 pop under $1,000 for around $100. I don't see much downside here. I think when he does make the Hall of Fame, you could see this card for a couple weeks hitting that $200-$300 price point, in my personal opinion. So I've done this for the last couple of years with, Hall of Fame players, buying them at the start of the year and selling them in the summer when they're in the spotlight. And there's definitely some good money to be made. He's definitely going to headline this Hall of Fame class. There are a lot of other great players, but I think he's probably the most culturally relevant player in this Hall of Fame class. And I think his cards are going to go up during that time, whether it's a short-term increase and they go back down, it could be that way, but I think his cards are going to see some good increases at some point this year, probably around that July to August, time frame. Now, next up on the list, we're going to be talking about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's cementing himself right now as a potential MVP candidate and if not one of the faces of the league. He's been that player who's taken that next step. And we saw what happened when Luka took that next step. We saw what happened when a lot of other young players took that next step. When Anthony Edwards last season took that next step. How his cards performed throughout the offseason. How his cards performed, throughout the season. And I think we're going to start to really see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander break into a different level of price trajectory as more investors are willing to spend more money on his cards. I think whether it happens, immediately throughout the playoffs if the Thunder make a run, or whether it happens throughout this offseason when he gets repriced, I think he is bound to get repriced just as Anthony Edwards got repriced in terms of him becoming a superstar. I think at this point it's tough to call him not a top 3 to top 5 player in this league. And I think given his trajectory and how he continues to improve, his cards, I think if you're not buying into Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's market, you could be missing a big boat. I'm not saying to FOMO in and just buy up all of his cards, but I'm saying I think we could see his prices lift off of where they currently have been sitting, and they've been sitting at a good support level. So I think throughout this offseason, or whether it's during the playoffs, his cards are going to reprice, and we're already starting to see his cards reprice. So I think he's in that category where he's going to have some price discovery, where people are like, well, if Luka is at this price point, if Anthony Edwards is at this price point, where can Shai get to? And I think his cards are still undervalued compared to some of those other superstars at his age. So without further ado, we're going to hop right into the next player on our list, and that is none other than J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy, I think, is a player who's going to have a lot of upside throughout this offseason, just based off of how low his prices got during the season. And because of his injury, of course. You have all the other great rookies in this draft class that saw some great price increases. J.J. McCarthy hasn't really, because he was injured. Throughout the offseason, people won't even, of course people will remember, but people will not care if a player was injured or not. The whole thing is speculating for this next season. If we look at what happened to Anthony Richardson's cards last offseason, he was injured the year before, but there was all the speculation throughout the offseason on how good is he going to be, whether he turns out to be good or not. Throughout the offseason, there's going to be a ton of speculation around J.J. McCarthy, just as there was around Anthony Richardson. And if we look at his cards before the season had started, a lot of his cards were priced extremely high. If you look at his Silver Prism PSA 10, for example, this card before the season was priced as if he's going to have the best year of his career and as if he's going to be Rookie of the Year and whatever else, accolades. You can see this card was a $500 card before the season started. So I think we're going to see similar speculation with J.J. McCarthy, whether he is named the starter or not. Maybe he joins another team. Maybe Sam Darnold goes away. It's just going to, you see how high Anthony Richardson's market was. And I think before the season starts, you're going to see that same thing happen with J.J. McCarthy. Now, of course, after the summer, around September to October, is when we start to see vintage go up a lot in price. We've seen vintage go up a lot for baseball recently. We've seen a lot of the top trenders be vintage players. So I think a lot of people take their investments, that a lot of their profits that they made throughout the summer, and a lot of that speculation starts to go away around that time, and a lot of people will get into the more, solidified all-time greats, such as guys like Kobe, such as guys like MJ, such as guys like LeBron. If you look at football, guys like Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Tom Brady, and I think a good time to get into their markets is around, September to October. And if you get in at that time, you see what happened these last 90 days. Their prices are going to go up a lot. So I would ride young players throughout the offseason. And when the season starts, I would shift that profit into all-time greats. And I think you can see some great upside in all-time greats without having to gamble on whether a player gets injured or whether a player has a good season. You don't have to gamble on that. You can simply see great price increases buying into all-time greats around September to October. It's been a trend that I've been noticing for a lot of players. So I think it's a good time around that September to October point to move your profits from young players to all-time greats and ride the next wave up with all-time greats without having to take risk. And a lot of these are honestly like guys like Mickey Mantle, 17% in the last 90 days. And a lot of those, I would say overall his important cards are going up a lot more than 17%. His random cards may not go up at all, but if you're picking the right cards, you can make a lot more than 17% on a player who's solidified and you don't have any injury risk. You don't have any, suspension risk or whatever other risks that current players have. You can see he's the third highest 30-day change player on this list of baseball players. You see in basketball, guys like Wilt Chamberlain on this list when you have the season going on, and you don't have to take the risk. All of these players, these young players, you had to take the risk and be right that they had a great year. The guys, all the all-time greats, you don't have to take that risk. So it's a good time when the season starts to move your money into those players, in my opinion. So I hope that game plan helped you guys out, and I hope that this video, you guys learned something, or if at all, maybe got a second opinion on what you guys are already doing. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Thank you guys so much for all the support recently. We are going to be doing more giveaways, so stay tuned and subscribe to the channel if you are new. We'd really appreciate all the support. Other than that, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'm out. Peace.